I totally forgot I have to actually go back and remove J-Dong's name here from the overlay for now, temporarily, but there we go. Welcome back to the 32Boys1Cup. It's the second match of the day, a best of 3 to determine who's going to fight against Party in the winners bracket, who will face off against J-Dong in the losers match. But before we do these player intros, guys, once again, big shout outs to our tournament sponsors, Chairs for Gaming. They ship DX racers in both Canada and the United States. We got Cooler Master, aka CM Storm. Follow them on Twitter at CM_esports. And last but not least, the newest sponsor, Proxy.gg. It's a fantasy league site. It's similar to the Part 2 system you got here on Base Trade TV. You earn points over there, but instead of raffles, you can exchange points for prizes. Check them out, Proxy.gg. Anyways, Zombie Grub, who do we got spotted over here?
In the middle left, as the Teal Zerg gets MVP's departure.
And his opponent in the bottom right, playing for Samsung Galaxy, and playing StarCraft 2 for a majority of his life, it is Stork. I remember, what was it? We were casting something with Stork, and you accidentally opened up Brood War. Just like the necessity of like him playing, I guess, forced your hand. I don't know. I think it was the last time we cast him. But yeah, Stork, he's a fun guy. He's interesting to watch. He's definitely better than your average Joe Schmo Protoss, but I don't know, man. He's not exactly a god. I could certainly see Departure taking him down here.
Well, unfortunately, we still don't really know a whole lot about Departure. We knew that he kicked some ass in the qualifiers, that's for sure, but we have no idea how.
Well,
so
let's give note to the fact that he did take out Rain.
Right, and we don't know how.
Yeah, we don't know how because we didn't cast it, but I mean, that's the thing. Like, in context, guys, we're sitting here with Departure, killed Rain in the qualifiers. Stork should be like mincemeat, right?
Well, maybe. It's been so long since I've really seen Stork as well that, you know, I can't really call, like, you know, Rain is always known for being, like, the passive Protoss. You know, his play, I don't know what it is. I really like Rain, but, like, his play is actually kind of, like, you know, it's kind of like, you know, what I don't like about Protoss, but he just does it so well, I guess, that it overcomes it, I guess.
It overcomes adversity. Ugh.
Yeah, sure. Whereas I guess, like, I don't think Stork is kind of the same. Like, he's certainly solid, but it's not like he's like the pole of Protoss. It's just like, you know, I don't have any builds of these two, and then, like, you know, I'm just good enough to only have those two.
Well, the thing I like about this, and I guess we'll explain real quick, guys, it was a bit unfortunate because Stork, J-Dong, and Party had severe limitations on when they could play, and as we said before, we tried to make it so there'd be 2 invited players per group and 2 qualified players. Departure is the only qualified player in this group. The other 3 were all invited, and due to, again, extreme limitations on scheduling, they had to play on this day. So Departure is kind of like an underdog in several regards to the actual format of the tournament, but I definitely think he's got a good spot in this. It's funny though, because you say we haven't seen Stork a lot, but I would say I've seen Departure even less.
Right, yeah, that's certainly true. These are kind of the unknowns in the group. I mean, you look at J-Dong partying, and that's usually the people would say they're going to get out of this group, right? Like, no matter what group it is, they got to be the top 2 favorites.
Yeah.
Well, you know, except that maybe J-Dong, who's been looking on forum, partying did look kind of amazing that game. I mean, they both looked solid, but partying looked like, you know, okay, I know what he is at now. I'm pretty sure he's going to get out of this group first.
Yeah, there's some things where you watch a Protoss player play, and we'll see with Stork here too. Like, defenses aren't that crazy, but like Party's defense in the last game, like, it wasn't that he's putting the force fields in a good spot. It's his reaction times were on point, and I feel like that happens most for most players. Like, unless it feels like Terran players are the only ones on point with reaction time because they don't have a lot of static D or anything like that. Like, you have to mobilize your army, but we saw Partying with like really sick reaction time. Now, Departure though in this game, you know, he's taking that through pretty quick. I like that he didn't leave his gas really late. That was definitely a problem with J-Dong, I feel. Not that his gold base really played against him, but more so that his gas timings were so late, so a lot of what he wanted to do was hitting at a later timing. Like those roaches, they accompanied the lings. There's some really cool dancing going back and forth in that game, but I mean, the reality is he took his gases super late.
Yeah. There were a couple of things in that game I guess we could go over, but, you know, this series is here, so let's talk about the fact that the Twilight Council went up, I mean, kind of quickly for Stork.
Probably just Blink, though. I mean, it's Blink plus
It is
2,
just Blink,
standard.
right?
I mean,
but, like, is he going to get a 3rd off of this? Because, like, we saw... I think we did. Well, I mean, the Nexus should be coming down soon if it's going to be a Nexus, right? So it's you know, it's getting up to about 7 minutes. I think 9 minutes is definitely a good time to expect a Protoss 3rd. That's certainly when I think Departure is going to be checking and saying, okay, there's no 3rd. Okay, what's going on? He does have overloads in position to actually... What?
Do you think he's going to go Mutas?
It's awfully risky.
I'm just saying, because like, where's the Evo Chambers? Where's the Roach Warren? Like,
there's no Roach Warren and there's no Speed. Okay, he starts Lair before Speed or Roach Warren. So that is
right. So it's
really
a little bit
risky. I mean, that's actually that's gonna be bad. It looks like Stork is gonna go a 2-base Blink.
Yeah, there's a lot of gateways coming down here right now. The back of the base. Overlord will not scout them.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so this is gonna be really bad. I mean, amassed Lings can be okay if they want something. Okay.
Hydraling's still a bit weird though, because you'd expect to see at least one of the Evo chambers down, right? Like, just skip ahead directly to it. It's not like it costs you gas with the Evo chamber. You don't have to invest in the upgrades, but the point is you're gonna have Hydras coming out without upgrades, and we just witnessed again. Like, I keep going back to this other series. Like, I can't get off Jaedong's dick, but I mean the reality is, we saw Jaedong with no upgrades in both games, and Hydras without upgrades, they just don't hit hard. They just really don't. They're scary. They attack fast. But force fields and guardian shields will certainly help.
That +2 carapace really helped Hydras live longer. So it's great that the departure is actually going for Hydras, right? This is actually going to be perfectly timed for something like this. So this is actually going to work out really well. If it was mutas, the mutas would be coming out now, the reinforcements would come, and they wouldn't just... I don't think they'd be plentiful enough. But this actually might be the perfect counter to what Stork is doing. 2-base Blink all-in, I would say, is actually not that powerful, which is why we always prefer the 3-base, like Parting was doing those last 2 games, especially that first game. But this one, I think if you're prepared for it... Well,
yeah, look at this. He's already going to get that surround. He's got to back up towards the ramp. He definitely didn't want to bring those force fields so early. As the Lings start getting weeded out, the problem is a lot of sentries are going down, which means there's not going to be around 2 of the force fields. We'll see if the Blink Stalkers are enough. I mean, even Army Supply for even Army Supply isn't really that case, because you're always going to blink back and keep the Stalkers alive forever.
I mean, the blitzing onto a Protoss army is not necessarily a bad idea, but maybe it was right there. He's run out of Lings. There wasn't that constant stream of reinforcements. The force fields are all gone, but now you can just depend on the Blink Stalkers, and I really would have wished he had targeted on that much before there it finally goes.
He's trying to get more Lings out, which isn't a terrible choice. They're actually really good against the Stalkers. There's not that many Zealots in play, but let's also not consider there's almost no sentries available, so this might be bad for Stork because he's just got nothing to keep this army back. However, despite the drone kills being 21, it actually just evens up the worker count. So he's still not in like the worst case I've ever seen, but this is very similar to what we saw before in Deadwing, where it's like it just might barely be enough.
30 more Lings are on the way. You know, the Larva Inject's been going actually pretty strong, despite having to take that 1 queen away. So I actually think he's going to hold. His army supplies actually suddenly just skyrocketed, 50 to just 28s. And even with Blink Stalkers, even with really great control, you're just not really producing a whole lot. And they're not very strong either off the 2-base.
Yeah. Well, I like that he's getting more sentries in. I think he's recognized the need of force fields. There's a lot of ways you can bait chokes in this fight, but Stork does keep taking engagements out in the wide open area and on the creep. I mean, this is about as even of a battlefield as you get. You consider this like creep halfway across, and then there's the force fields over here. I mean, like, this really, if you take 3 steps in the wrong direction, you could actually set yourself up for a monumental fail. But 42 drones, obviously not as good as the 60-something he had before, but he's producing enough army to keep up. In fact, he's got more army supply, but that doesn't mean it's efficient. Again, there's going to be those force fields that shut down so much of this army.
Yeah, that's true. I also he produced 2 more queens. Of course, one to inject at the natural, but also just to spend his money in case like the larva went down. So now he has 2 queens that are gathering transfuse energy.
Yeah. Well, this army gets the surround, and there's no mothership force. There's actually no recall. It didn't click to me just how all in out of Stork this was until just now, because there's no fallback for this. But I don't think it's going to work. This time the Lings did their job, and they actually soaked enough damage so that the Hydras get through. Transfuses even go down on the Hydralisks. I don't know why I'm pointing with my hand. You guys can't see it, but this is just fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, the Hydra Ling was already a great composition. It was just, you know, whether or not Stork could break its back before he got very strong. And obviously, well, he couldn't. He's going to try and go back and, you know, macro out of this. But I don't even think I don't think he's throwing on a robo. So, you know, what is he really going to do behind it?
I feel like such a... I always do it too, like when I get so hyped in these engagements, I'm like, look over there, look over there! And it's like, oh, no one can see me pointing, this isn't a touchscreen. Oops.
What if it was a touchscreen? What would the caster do?
I guess like the mouse would jump around, right? Like, boop, 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 boop.
Oh, like actual... then that would mess up your observing.
Not that it's good in the first place.
It just like randomly veers off to the right and the left and the right.
Like,
going insane.
Or like you'll do like a finger swipe, it'll just jerk across like that, real fast. But okay, so here's the thing for Stork, right? Like, let's bottom line this. He's in a bad spot. Yes, his army supply still stands, and his probe count's not terrible, but taking a 3rd base in this scenario is going to be very difficult, because he doesn't have an army to protect it. He doesn't have upgrades. I mean, +1 starts, but it's usually by now we see +2 finished. And the trade, I mean, we look at the resource loss. Honestly, that trade wasn't the worst thing in the world, but it's kind of the fact that Departure was able to afford losses, whereas I think Stork really wasn't.
I was gonna try and hold on. I just, without any splash, like, lots of Blink Stalkers and, Sentries and maybe a couple of Mortals, we saw Parting actually take care of Roach Hydra very well. So it can actually deal with most compositions. But it's not at that point where it's that big right now. I mean, the Sentries, they might be able to force field off a couple of the units and maybe buy a couple more minutes, but it's just not big enough. And Departure, oh yeah, that was a mistake. Damn it.
Well, this ramp is actually going to give Departure a concave at the bottom of the ramp.
Oh, God.
He's got to blink back. This abandons the Sentries. Force Fields need to go down, but, I mean, there's no sign of a Colossus anywhere nearby. Departure, if he gets stuck on this ramp forever, can just go to the third, kill that Nexus. We got a counterattack going up with a lot of Blink Stalkers in the top left, though. This might draw some of his army back home, because Queens, of course, alone won't stop this. Maybe the Lings will, though. There's a hell of a lot of them, but there's some AFK.
I like this,
drones. Man, Departure is so quick to pull drones.
Hey, he's not doing so well. He's not doing so bad on the other side of the field either. Now, the Stalker's actually going to be cleaned up by drones, it looks like. +1 is about to finish. That would have been really helpful this entire time.
He's out of juice on the Sentries, that's the problem. That's why I see his Lings trying to get through. And for Stork, this is falling apart very quickly. GG is going to be called, and Departure shows us what a Zerg player can do. Game number 1 will go to him.